In this video, we'll be covering how to write your life story. If you're struggling to figure out how to present yourself and what your message is, you're going to want to stay tuned to this video. By the end of this video, you're going to figure out how to uncover your most powerful message, unlocking the reader benefit, and working with an expert to bring your story forward. And stay tuned until the end for a free gift. Let's dive in. You have a special story. It's full of ups and downs, challenges, opportunities, struggles, turning points, and lessons. Your story is unique to you, but so many people can learn from your story and apply your story into their own experiences and kind of better understand the human experience based on the struggles that you went through and overcame. I always find that I can learn more from somebody's struggles and failures than I can from somebody's successes. A lot of times, people will bring forward books or stories or documentaries, and they focus on all of the good things. They focus on all the success. I can't really learn as much from success, other than how they got to where they did. But everybody's going to deal with obstacles and struggles. Everybody deals with letdowns. Everybody deals with setbacks. There's something that fuels you inside, that fuels you to succeed. And being able to be vulnerable and being able to explore and connect the dots of why things fell out the way they did and why things mattered. It's so valuable for your audience and your reader to be able to connect to them and be real. Be real about the issues you faced. When writing your story, it's meaningful to step outside of yourself. We all have our own opinions and perspectives and ideas about how things were and the way things went. But there's always other sides of it, and there's always other pieces to document. There's other ways to match it up and connect the dots. As a book ghostwriter, I work with a lot of people who are interested in telling their stories, and I'm always looking for evidence. I'm always looking for support. I'm always looking for the connective pieces to match things up. And there's credibility that comes when your stories align with the truth, the facts, as they've been presented. I've worked with people who have told me stories and maybe a little details off here and there because, memories fade over time, but it's really about the spirit of your stories. It's the spirit of what you're saying, and then I've worked with people as well who have lied and made things up. And it's always disappointing. It's disheartening to find those things. It really kind of forces me to dig deeper and to connect even more dots, because I don't really fully trust everything they're saying anymore because they told me something that wasn't true. It's important from a credibility standpoint to be able to tell the truth as honestly as possible. We're always going to get things a little bit wrong. Memories fade over time, but it's important as you tell your life story to be open and honest, unflinchingly so. Being vulnerable is going to help you connect with people, and being real with them, being open with them, being honest with them is going to help you build credibility. And at the same time, if you're not truthful and not honest, you're going to lose credibility. A good example of this recently was Kristi Noem, the Republican politician who was in the news for a book that she came out with. She had some stories in there that were drawing a lot of negative attention. And some of them were actually just not actual things that happened. She talked about meeting Kim Jong-un at one point during a meeting, and this meeting never happened. There were other conversations that she talked about, or meetings that she talked about, that were misinterpreted or imagined somehow during the process of writing this book. And it really brought down her credibility on a national scale. And those things can really haunt you. It's so important to step outside of yourself and step outside of the stories you're telling and really dig deeper on fact. Go back and look at newspaper accounts. Talk to friends or relatives who've been there, who remember the stories maybe differently than you do, to get consensus. When I was working as a journalist, we talked about triangulation of sources, that we wanted to get 2 or 3 different sources in different areas confirming the same things, and then we would run with the story. And I think it's similar even when you're telling your life stories, to get that triangulation, to think about the people in your network or the information sources that can help you dig deeper and to confirm the stories that you want to tell. Once you understand the story that you want to tell about yourself and kind of get an idea of how you want to say it, you should really spend some time outlining and figuring out what is inside and outside of the frame. because the story that you're trying to tell is going to be a specific and narrow thing. It's probably not going to be every single thing that happened in your life. If it is, people might get bored by that. People might not want to hear every single thing that happened to you. But if you're a business leader, for example, they might want to hear about your journey and your rise as a business leader, the struggles you faced, the ups and downs, the challenges in your industry, the forward-thinking approach of what your industry looks like 5 or 10 years from now, giving back, all those sorts of things. But they need to be within the framework of the message that you want to share. You can't just go and just scattershot and just put everything in the book or story that you're telling. In my book, Ghostwriting, I remember working with one of my clients, and he had all of these stories from his childhood and his teenage years. And some of them were salacious and some of them were interesting, but a lot of them didn't actually fit within the book itself. So we pulled those stories out. They didn't match up with the story that he wanted to tell ultimately, the bigger picture. So we took those stories out. It's important to understand what's inside and outside of the frame of the scope of your story. And you can understand that by focusing on the audience, focusing on what the target audience might be interested in learning about, instead of just throwing everything at the wall and just saying, oh, they can figure out if they want to hear this or not. Another important thing as you tell your story is connecting the dots. Looking at the cause and effect of things and understanding how your early experiences match up with other opportunities later. I remember one specific person I worked with was a coach of a sports team. And he had all these experiences as a kid growing up, and he kind of grew up looking for a father figure, and was missing that, and turned to coaching and was able to provide that kind of presence for the people on his team. And I think about that a lot, and the cause and effect, and seeing this deficiency, this missing piece in his childhood connected to the impact he had with the world. And I think it's important to be able to understand that, and important to understand how these pieces all connect, because we're not just telling stories to tell stories, we're telling stories for a reason. And this goes back to the frame of inside and outside. Why does this story matter here? It's because of the payoff here. When you watch a movie, when the guy gets the girl at the end, it's all the struggles that he faced along the way to get there that makes the story meaningful. And when you're telling your story similarly, you need to think about the payoff, the reader payoff. What's in it for the reader and the reader journey from here to here. But being able to connect those dots, kind of to step back and pull back and understand how everything connects is super, super valuable. Another thing that's important when writing your story is figuring out the point in time when things change or when action happens. So many times when I'm working with an author and they're writing their book, they want to focus it on the beginning of time. They want to focus on, just telling all the backstory. It's so much more valuable to get yourself into the place of action. Something's changing, something's happening. You want to throw the reader into just, this point of things happening, this point of action, to keep them moving forward, to keep them intrigued. The beauty of being able to tell your story is figuring out what to pull out, what doesn't belong, and really jumping ahead and cutting to the key points. It's going to keep the reader engaged. One of the best ways that you can go about telling your story is working with a book ghostwriter like me. This is what I do for a living. I work with people and help them bring out their stories and tell their stories. I collaborate with them to help them share their messages with the world. And I just think it's an awesome thing. I think about people being able to unleash their inner superhero. That's really what this is about. It's really about unleashing your story with the world and telling it in a way that's going to compel people to do something, whatever it is, to feel something. I think back to one of the people I collaborated with, and he was in the education space, and he had such an awesome story. And the first time we ran through his draft, we wrote it, I spent about a year working with him, and I was reading it and I'm like, this is kind of boring. This is flat. This isn't quite working out. And I really had to step back and figure out why that was. And it was because the pieces didn't all fit together the right way. And it wasn't a big lift, it wasn't a big change, but what we did is look at what was the story we wanted to tell and the unique thing, the unique message that he wanted to share with the world. And through that process, we came up with the positioning statement for the entire book and the entire story and oriented each of the chapters to that positioning statement. And because we were able to do that, all we did is that little switch just a little switch for each chapter, and it unlocked the full power of the book. It was so neat to see it and to recognize that just a little bit of a switch was the difference between boring and incredible, boring and worthwhile, boring and special. Like that divide is so close, and being able to work with experts and professionals and book ghostwriters to help you bring out your story and unlock the full power of your message. All right, now that you've watched this video about telling your life story, I'd love to help you tell your life story. Go ahead and visit goodghostwriter.com. Just click the link below. Schedule a free one-on-one call with me, and we can talk about your story, the importance of it, what matters, bringing out your message in the best way possible, and really figuring out the best way for you to write your book. Either way, I'd love to help point you in the right direction and help you bring out your story in the best way possible. Remember, good ghostwriting makes great books. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.